Hi guys, welcome to Wetmore Works today. I'm going to take you over some of the trims that you might need for your project. We often find people jump online, buy the panels, but they often get to the point where they don't know what trims they're going to need for the project. So I thought today I'll just get a few samples and just take you over them. So here we have just a wee sample of one of our acoustic style wall panels. This one has to be the brown canoe oak from Multipanel. So when a panel gets cut down, and if it's not butting up to the corner of the room, then you're going to need what's called an end cap, which is this one here. So see the profile there. The whole idea with the end cap is once you've got your exposed edge, so rather than showing the inner core and to prevent any moisture getting to the core of the panel, use what's called an end cap. So fitters will apply sealant inside the trim itself, and then at the end they will place it over. So you can see it gives it a really nice, neat finish. But crucially, it then prevents water from actually working its way around and getting to the core of the panel. So that's what's called an end cap. These are available in both in aluminium and in PVC. Make sure when you're choosing the thickness of your trim that if your panel is 11 mil, that you select 11 mil trim. If it's a 10 mil, a 10 mil trim, and so on. So that's what's called an end cap. Next to come along, if you're coming into a corner of a room, so let's say you've got a shower where you've got two panels suddenly coming in to come and meet. So like that, you could just use silicone. But the problem with using silicone over a period of time, the panels are going to move on the shower tray, and eventually the silicone's going to come away, and again, water can get around. So to prevent this from happening, you can use what's called an internal corner twist. Now this just happens to be a gold one. We've got to put it in gold. We've got brushed aluminium, black, matte black, polished metal. We also do them in the PVC range. Key thing with this trim here is once it gets fitted into place, sealant again is going to get applied into both sides. So then the panel, once it's been cut down and measured, that slots there into place, and that one then slots there. That then again prevents water from working its way around to the back of the wall or to the core of the panel. Now, if you're not a fan of seeing the trim, you can use what's called a hidden trim or an invisible trim, which I have here. See, it's invisible. It's great. So that's the gotcha. Uh, so now this is also called an invisible trim or a hidden internal trim. So this obviously is not seen until this gets fitted first of all. Again, sealant is applied. So the panels themselves, once they're cut to size, they slot in like that, and that will then finishes there. Okay, so you can't see the trim at all. In that little gap that you can just see, then the fitters are going to use either a clear or a white sealant just to put in place. Again, to prevent any water getting through. Doesn't really matter when it comes to a PVC panel, but certainly when you're using a ply or an MDF core panel, you never want moisture to get to the inner core of it. So sealant's going to get placed just in there, and then the trim then falls into place. So then it's completely visible. Hidden, invisible. Um, so that's talking about the internal corner trim. When you come to an external corner, or let's say, for example, like if you're building a wee niche to keep your shampoo bottles or your soap, or when you get to a windowsill, use what's called an external corner trim. Now, you've got your standard, which is just a 90 degrees. So if you've got your a wee niche that's being built and you've got your panel going up right and that there, you don't really want to see the inner core of the panel. So what the fitters will use is this trim here, and that gets placed over the edges. Again, gives it a really nice, neat finish. So that there is just your straight 90 degree, or you use what's called a corner, which is a rounded external trim. So again, sealant will be applied inside the trim, and then the panels then will slot in like that, giving a really nice, neat corner. So whether it's going, let's say, around, obviously around the corner, around the pillar, or if it's on a windowsill, that's how it's going to look or around a niche. Okay, so that's what's called your external corner trim. Now, if when panels are meeting up to the ceiling or into a corner, you can use what's called a quadrant. So this is a quadrant, and that's how it looks just there. So with the trim itself, if you've got your panels running up to the ceiling, we'll put it that way, and then this is your ceiling there. Sometimes rather than silicon, you might want to use a quadrant, and that'll fit just in place. Something, if I can get it right, something like that. Just gives really nice, neat finish. Again, these are in a range of materials, aluminium and PVC, and a range of colors as well. So make sure you check out the website. You'll see the range that we've got in those. And then finally, most important thing, if you're ever using a ply or an MDF core panel in a shower, you must use what's called a base profile trim. Now, some fitters historically they just put the panel directly onto the shower. The issue, what we find is that over a period of time, water can start to get sucked up between the laminate and the inner core of the panel, and then you can get what's called a bubbling effect. So to prevent that, you can either raise the panels from the shower tray by about 5 or 6 mil and put sealant all underneath it, or you can use a trim like this. So this will get fitted to the wall above the shower tray. Sealant will be placed underneath this, so it sits just above the shower tray. More sealant will be placed in the top. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like it's got 2 steps. So there's 2 steps in the house. So the panel, once sealant's applied there, will then sit on the top step. And you can see it overhangs, creating a small void just underneath. And in that void, then sealant's going to get placed there. So when water then comes down the face of the panel, it's never going to get sucked up. The panel's never going to sit in water. That way, it's going to cover your warranty with all the suppliers. And again, you're then never going to have any problems with water getting sucked up. Now, if you've got any questions or anything you need, please just jump onto the website, which is wetwallworks.co.uk. Please give us a phone, email us. We can send samples of both our panels out to you. If you need anything to do with trims, we can send these out to you so you can physically see what I'm talking about. But that's about that. Wet Wall Works.